Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, now, I think many of us who have, maybe many of us who have dysfunctional families may have crossed something like this. You know, anybody who has to travel to their, somewhere during the holidays to be with family, let's say it's family, or extended family, or whomever, they have to travel each year. And how that can be an issue, various ways, okay. I'm not saying this is the same for everybody. I'm not trying to suggest anything to anybody. But I do think many people experience this, and I could be wrong. But say a person has to travel. I'm one to say you when I don't really mean you, but say a person has to travel. Maybe they take their spouse, loved ones, family, friends, and they need to travel because, say, there's somebody in their family who lives in the middle. Okay, and let's just give a number here. Say on one side of it, the north side of it, lives part of the family, and they have to travel, say, 5 miles to get to the person in the middle. Others live 5 miles in a different direction, say south. So some coming from the north, some coming from the south, and they all meet in the middle in that family member's house. And that family member hosts the, say Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner or whatever holiday you're celebrating. And, this happens like when you're young and year after year. And at some point you may think, I'm tired of every year I have to go somewhere. And why nobody can come to my place. Now, logically, some say, well, some would be traveling 10 hours and then the other ones travel 5. That wouldn't be right. But at the same time, when you really think about it, is it right that you need to travel every time? Okay. Now, the other ones have to travel every time, and the ones in the middle are hosting it. Now, people move. People move around, and maybe sometime it gets to be somehow different. And say that one that lives in the middle that had always hosted it and doesn't want to go, doesn't want to come to your place. When, say yours is closer to them, you're in the middle now, or something like that. They don't want to. Now, that can be an issue. That could be a very big issue. You did it for all those years, but they're not going to do it. And that's when, for some people, they find out, that could be one clue that, hey, eyes open, this is not a fair family. This is dysfunctional in some ways. Okay, like that. Okay. Now, for some people, it could be that, let's say, another scenario. The same kind of setup. People are in the middle. Somebody in the family in the middle at this time, and the others travel from south. Some travel from north, and to all meet there. Let's just say it's 2 different families traveling to the third family in the middle. Well, each year they say they're coming. People from the south say, we'll be there. We're going to be there. And pretty much every year they don't show up. But they don't tell anybody that. They set it up to about, say, 3 weeks before that holiday that they're going to meet there, and they set it all up. And really they just tell your family, well, we're going to have it, this year we're going to have it here. Okay, like every year they say that. They don't talk it over with you and even listen, They don't give you a choice. They just say, this is how it's going to be. And so then, they set it up 3 weeks ahead of time, and they're going to plan it, and when will people be there, and what day, maybe say the day before, the eve of whatever it is. And but say like a few days before then, that same family will call and say, well, we're not going to be able to make it, and they come up with some excuse. And we're not going to make it. 3 days before, say 4 days before, you would be traveling. You've made your plans, you change things around, so on and so forth, for that purpose. And they just decide they're not going to. It's never been a situation for you where you say you're not going to. Or maybe it has a time or two, over years. But most often, you're ready to go. And you change your plans and you do that. That's, that could be a big problem, too. Okay, I could go on and give different kind of scenarios and, different kind of situations, what this and that. But I think many people, would understand just from where I am and maybe could relate that there are sometimes in a truly dysfunctional family, somebody wants to control it. Somebody wants it easy. Somebody is the one that at the very last moment's going to say no or change it, a different day, a different whatever. Far too often there's something that's not going to go the way it was originally planned. Some people aren't going to be informed. They're, included in the decision making, they're just going to be told, so on and so forth. Okay, and at some point maybe one of them, like say it's the wife of the one in the north, the ones that usually show up, says, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not even going to plan it. I'm not going to go. And maybe she has other reasons. Doesn't like the long drive. 5 hours there, 5 hours back. Crowded house. Lots of people that she doesn't care for. She's always seen them as controlling. She doesn't like them. Does this, any of this sound familiar? And she's just not going to go. But that leaves her at home alone, for the holidays. Besides just being alone for the holidays, it's also she's alone. And some people don't like being alone, left alone in their home for various reasons, not just that they're afraid, but it could be that they would be afraid to. But anyway, now I'm talking about this because this is what's happened for me. I don't plan on going anywhere. I don't plan, and I should say up here, it can be your family or it can be your significant other's family, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whomever. And it could even be like, maybe you're in the middle and it's, like people who are going to be there will be your sister and her husband, and some of his family wants to, to go too. Or they want to be all together in the middle. They live close to one another, and they want to, give it your sister and her family, his family and her his family, and they all want it in the middle, and they want you to come there, and you don't like them. Let's say you don't like them. Maybe it's not your favorite sister either. But it can be any kind of arrangement. It's not always just your spouse, and your children. It could be you, your spouse, and your spouse's family, and your sister's family, and your brothers, your cousins, all can be there too. When I was young, it was all cousins, and so on and so forth, and aunts, uncles, and all that. So, whatever it is. But in my situation, it was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not traveling there. I'm not going to be on the road during this 2021. Even though I'm fully vaccinated, he's fully vaccinated, it's still, not something I want to do. To travel, say 5 hours, to go and be around people I'm not really caring to be around. Period. I'm not going to go. That's it. And it brought about a little bit of anxiety in me. I mean, at my age, I've been alone before, and I have a big house, and the big house can be the issue, because I'll tell you, the other day, last week, middle of the night, well, not even middle, well, I think it was around 2 or something in the night, and in the morning, and somebody in the back of the house, there's, every house has fences in front, in the back mainly, and they're wood, and I heard it. My dogs went crazy. Heard somebody banging really hard on wood, which I'm thinking the gates are wood. They are. The gates, the fences and the gates and everything, and it didn't sound like right there, but at the same time, I'm like, so is other things out there is wood. What's somebody doing banging, out there? And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was all groggy, and I told Adam, and he said, so what am I going to do? He was so sound asleep. He's one of those, when he's asleep, nothing. Me, I'm on alert, you know. I'm going to hear it. I'm a light sleeper. And luckily I have my dogs, and they're very protective, you know. But I wouldn't let him out. I was so sleepy. And then I started hearing it even louder. Bang, 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 bang. And my thought, you know, when I woke up was, it was probably like a next door neighbor, and they went outside to let their dogs out, because everybody in our neighborhood has dogs, seriously. That I know, they all have dogs, and not just one. And you know, he probably, or she, went out, let the dogs out, and walked outside and locked themselves out. So they're banging on it to, you know, let me in, kind of thing. But still, I don't know that. I don't know that that was the fact, but that's just what I would think. And so, okay, but like I said, I've been by myself. Well, I have a big house, okay, and some people have in the past, they called it the spooky house. We got it new. Nobody had lived in it before, and, you know, bought it new. And but at nighttime, if all the lights are off, and what happened was, me and my sister one time, Adam was in another state, and I was by myself, and I went with my sister somewhere, and when we got back, it was dark. I said, wait a minute, I left the outside light on, you know, so I could see to get in, but it was off. And the house, from her headlights, you know, the house just looked so, it looked like a spooky house. Okay, it really did. It looks like, kind of like, I keep wanting to say Gothic. Is that what it would be? But it doesn't look like that during the day. But at nighttime, though, just the way her lights were, you know, like if you put a flashlight under your chin in the dark, you know, it's not going to look the same. And I got in the house, and back then I had 2 black labs, and one of them was sitting down at the end of a stairways. At the end of the stairs, right when you walk in, there's the entranceway, and then right there beyond, like right beyond the entranceway where the stairs are to go to the upstairs, he was sitting there growling. And he'd look up and he'd growl. And he was like, he wouldn't move, like, you're not coming in. And I looked up there and I saw something moving. I was back out that door so fast, you know. I think I went and stayed in a hotel or something that night. I don't know where. I might have went to, wherever I went. But it was freaky. It was totally freaky. And I've had these situations like that. But I have lived by myself before. I'm not that freaked out about it. Still, you know, after just last week, hearing that in the 2 o'clock in the morning and my dog's going nuts, it's kind of fresh on my mind, you know. So I was thinking, how am I going to do this? You know, and I'm thinking, I've done this so many times before, so no big deal. And I've got neighbors that neighborhood watch you wouldn't believe. But still, you know, what I was going to do was put the dogs in the kennel. We were going to kennel them, and he was going to go, and I was going to stay home. And but I would be by myself. The dogs, no. Because like today, I went and bought groceries, and I try to, you know, we know this is going to happen. They go nuts when I come back home. And they kick, you know, they jump up, and these are not teeny tiny dogs. Jump up on me and everything, and yeah, I could see myself splat. You know, I've fallen because of one of them before, so just was it earlier this year or late last year, whenever. So anyway, overall, I mean, it depends on who you are, where you live, how you see it, how you know, whatever you think, you know, do you really, you know, I'm saying you, and I don't really mean you, do you really want to be home by yourself? And I really thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be home alone for the holidays. And right now, with what's going on, going to a hotel, I don't like hotels anyway, especially after all those shows, you know, they had, when they had those lights that they see what, oof, yeah. And, I mean, I know there's a hotel not too far from here, and so on and so forth, but anyway, you know, I had forgotten, because I don't go. And at some point years ago, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Not happening. So it was never I'm going to do it. And, well, anyway, And year after year, they would cancel, like right at the last moment. And I've forgotten about that because I just don't, it's not going to be part of my holidays, not mine. So anyway, I told Adam, I said, well, don't they usually cancel? It finally hit me. Don't they usually cancel every year for some reason? And I think it was yesterday I said that. And he thought a minute. He said, you're right. I said, so out of all these years, how many times have they actually shown up? I said, I can only remember one time. And that they actually showed up in many years. And he tried to take it down a different road because I told him I'd never seen that person's house before they moved. And I'd never seen the new one before. And he said, you've seen that? And I have never been there. Ever. Okay, ever. He didn't believe it. He had a different memory. I've been to one of their houses, but not that one. And so he took it down that road. You know, see there, you must know because you know that they showed up once. And anyway, but sure enough, today, ring, and you got it. I could hear him from the other room saying, yeah, well, she said, you know, it's funny because, you know, Grace had said that to me, you know, that they probably would cancel. And they did. Sure enough, they did. Now all this, that was for 2 weeks. I'm trying to think, well, what exactly am I going to do? Could I go? Maybe I could go somewhere. Am I going to want to stay at home? Am I going to want to go? And like I said, I'd totally forgotten that they changed their mind. This time they seemed like it was going to be a big deal, and it was. So that's another reason I wasn't thinking they were going to cancel, because it was supposed to be a big deal this time for a certain purpose. And, you know, besides the holidays, it's a holiday. But, you know, and he was like, when he got off the phone, he goes, how really did you know? I said, well, for one, I'm a sociologist. I kind of laughed about it. I am. I taught it to college and university, but when I really started thinking about their particular pattern, and in a way, some people could see it as if they're very controlling. They don't care. They're going to, you know, make the plans, tell us the plans, and they're not telling me. I'm not doing it, and then change the plans. But I don't think it's the people in the middle. It's the people from the south that are doing it. You know, it's just whatever on their own whim, and everybody's supposed to jump when they say jump. Oh, they're going to be there, so everybody be there. You see? I think many of us can probably relate to something along that line. Or can you? Okay, and well, see, this thing's not going to stay upright. But another thing is the expense. To go, you know, move past that part, because I wasn't going to do it anymore, period. Not even going to get into planning that we're going to go and where we're going to stay when we get there and all that. Not doing it. Year after year. And, but one of the things that these, you know, as my life has gone, you know, I'm 58 years old, so I've had plenty. I got married when I was 18, so I've had plenty of different scenes. I've moved around a lot. But one of the things that some people don't realize is how long that trip is. Okay, now if my mother and my parents were still alive and we would go to their house, from here it would be about 7 to 8 hour drive. There's no plane that goes there. And no, it's not out in the boonies or anything, but it's just a small town, and the big town next to it is not really that kind of, it doesn't have an airport. So the only airport is like 90 miles away, 100 miles away from there. Okay, so to go through all that, to get on an airplane and all that, but to drive would be 7 to 8 hours, and I'd done it, did it plenty of times. But they don't take into consideration, there you are driving all that, dealing with traffic, dealing with lots of different types of roads. There were so many different ways that we knew to go there. You know, some through Houston. I'll just say through Houston, and go through Dallas and Houston to get to there. That's a lot of driving, and then just through Houston to get out of there. That's a lot. It's a lot on a person, and at my age, he's older. Not happening. You know, but my parents aren't alive, and the house is, I could think, been sold. But you know, the person who's there doesn't, you know, maybe they don't think about what all you've been through to drive there and then to drive back home. Plus, you know, when you're young, or even when you're older and maybe you hit a rough spot, or when you're young and you're just starting out. I can remember when I was young, you know, we talk about gas money. I don't talk about gas money now, but haven't for many years. But when you're young, gas money is a big deal. It can be for some people if they're not, you know, somehow financially set already. So that, you know, they're having to think about the wear and tear on their automobile. What if they don't have good tires? Then they're going to be buying presents for somebody, and plus some of them would, you know, like cook something to you know, to potluck kind of thing, you know, to bring with them. And I do remember I wouldn't go, but Adam would get a turkey or a ham for, I think it was a turkey for Thanksgiving and a ham for Christmas, and I would cook it and say, y'all take it with you, go. You know, I'm not going. And but I would still cook it for them. I'm not a turkey fan, but except if it's legs, those are good. Anyway, but the whole thing of all the inconvenience it is, the person in the middle, let's just call them the person in the middle, or where everybody's going to, do they really understand how much of a drive that is? How much it is on you, even when you're young? Because when you're young, maybe you don't have, also you're not driving in a, you know, something nice. Let's just say you're not. Let's just say you're not. And you're worried about your tires. You're worried about how much the gas is going to cost you, you know, so on and so forth. There's all these things to consider. Okay, and how many can relate to this? Once you get there, the one who lives there, you know, like say it's your parents, but one of them lives near and is hosting it, it's just being a royal bee, male or female. It doesn't matter to me, male or female. They can be bees. You know, they can be bees, and you know you've just done all that driving. You know, they're upset if you don't bring enough presents. Have you ever seen that before? If you live in a dysfunctional family, maybe so. You know, you didn't buy appropriately. You didn't make it there on the time that they expected you. Really? You know, so many things that they can come up, or they try to put, you know, say, well, we don't have enough room. You're going to have to go to a hotel. I didn't sign up for all that. This is not your house. This is our parents' house. You know, these kinds of, you know, you get there, you're tired. You've been on the road for 7 or 8 hours driving, you know, maybe more because you have to stop and all that. And they're being like that. You know, these kinds of things happen. And over my lifetime, I've had situations like that, you know, it's like, I'm not doing this. At some point, I'm not doing it. I am not. You know, all those things. And then being treated like that once you get there. And then you got the long drive back, and the weather, you know, depending on, you know, the weather, it could be a really bad drive. I remember one year, the last time I ever did it, I drove back. I had, you know, like, also dogs. We have dogs, you know, and we have to kennel them, and that costs right there. You know, when you're young, it can be expensive. When you're older, not so much. You know, it doesn't seem like such a big chunk. Maybe. Sometimes you never make it, and you never thrive for, it can be your own reasons or your own fault or not. Some people, they don't thrive, it's not their fault. Anyway, I remember one year I had 2 black labs with me, and I was traveling back, and Adam was out of in another state, and it was actually right before, maybe right after Christmas. I don't know, I have to think about that. But I went through that. Well, I hadn't for many years. Went there, and it was just like, no. And that's when I said no contact. Do not contact me ever again, any of you. And that drive, I remember saying, I went through, like, and this is the second time in my life I've experienced something like this. Go through, like, all the kind of weather conditions, many of them, not all of them, many of the weather conditions you would not want to travel through. Like high winds on the highways where it's just one lane going either direction and the speed limit's 75. You know, highways, not interstates, but highways. You know, way out in the boonies. And, you know, the high winds, the, 40 mile per hour winds. I've been through hurricanes. I've been through, having a tornado right outside me several times in my life. A tornado right out there in the field. I'm driving, the field on the side of the road. Oh, scary, let me tell you. Even in Houston one time, a tornado spun up. But it was like rain, then sleet, then snow, then hail. Then, seriously, it was one after another kind of thing. And I had 2 black labs. I mean, what hotel is going to allow a person to have 2 big black labs? And then I found one, and I tried to call Adam, and I couldn't reach him, and then there was something going on there. I said, I'm not going to stay here, so I kept driving, and it was horrible. It was horrible, But do they take that into consideration as the one who are sitting in their home, and they're going to host it? And hosting can be a big deal. We know that. Hosting can be a big deal. You have to buy the food and everything. That's why some say, well, we really like your, whatever you cook, your whatever salad or what, can you make some and bring it with you, this kind of thing. And, but they need to consider, no, if you're going to be the one in the middle that's going to have everybody drive to you, you need to cook it all. Really. Seriously. Or make some kind of arrangement when you're not having to go through hours of driving, all that stress, all that on your body, on your mind, on your automobile, all the cost, along the way. They can do that. Yeah. Okay, but in some dysfunctional families, that person that's in the middle can, just play the victim. Well, I have to do all the cooking, and I have to do all the cleaning, and all the getting ready for it. And all y'all do is drive. Some of them have that kind of nerve. Don't we all know that? They have that kind of nerve. And if you're traveling with a whole bunch of people in your automobile, you're like your whole family, from your young, when you first have family, and maybe you have to take more than one vehicle. You have enough family. And the whole stress of the kids in the back, and they're getting bored, and they back then didn't have, headphones or toys they can play with, some kind of electronic device. They didn't have those. Driving, and they're getting tired and bored and all that. Yeah, it can be a lot. And that person in the middle just sitting there saying, well, y'all should bring stuff with you. I don't want to have to do all the cooking. Yeah, that can happen. Or, so many different kinds of scenes. And here it is, when in a dysfunctional family, those may pop up, a good chance they may pop up. Some kind of scene where you're like, what? I'm not doing this anymore. At some point, it's like, I am not doing this anymore. Forget about it. Just forget about it. Anyway, I think I've just been, don't have that. I'm looking at the time it says on my camera, which is my cell phone, to make videos. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up. But what about you? Can you relate? I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.